Brought to you by the EveryDollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
All right, today's question comes from Jason in South Carolina, and it actually came in last week before there was a kick the can down the road moment in the government. But it said, with the impending government shutdown, how do I, as a government employee, combat the stress and anxiety of possibly not getting paid but still being required to show up for work? Is that how that works?
Yeah, well, there's back pay. So once they're back, they get the money. But while you're there, it's not happening. Which means they're missing some paychecks.
I've got my own thoughts on that. I'm the sole provider. My third daughter will be here in November. We have no savings and are in some debt. All right, so I'm going to answer this, George, globally, because it's super frustrating for me. If I had, let's say I want to put something into context for everybody, okay? So when COVID happened and we were told you cannot go into the office, Dave and the operating board called that emergency meeting, if you remember that. And Dave said, we have this much money in the account. This is how much cash this company has on hand, and we are a cash-only company. This is how much we got. This is how much cash it takes to operate. And so you can see it's going to get real tight real fast. Here is how things will go. Number one, if it gets super tight, I will not take a check. Me, the CEO and owner of this place. Number two, the operating board will not take a check. Number three, we will go into the next round of vice presidents will not take a check. Number four, we may have to look into, so he laid out the map. But in so doing, he announced to the whole company, transparently, here's what we got. I want everybody on the same page here, but I go first. I'm the leader. I go first. When times are good, I win big. When times are bad, I go first. Number two, the next round of leadership goes second. The next round of leadership goes third. And to leaders, if y'all don't want to be a part of that, bye, Felicia. There's the door, right? But here's how we're going to do this. So juxtapose that with a group of senators who are sitting. I just have this picture, George, of them in a kiddie pool that they got at Walmart for $5, and it's full of bubbles, and they're throwing balloons with no water in them, just balloons at each other.
It's a great mental picture. Thank you for that.
If it shuts down, they still get paid. Who doesn't get paid are these employees who have kids trying to make it. So they're using these government workers who keep this thing going for all of us as fodder for their little temper tantrum-y games that they're trying to play for an election coming up in a year. And it's so disgusting how they use people like Jason as fodder for their little future reelection campaigns.
Well, they're just pawns in this
that's right.
Awful game of chess.
And so, Jason, if I worked for a guy, if I had gone to that meeting and Dave had said, listen here, I'm getting mine. If we shut down, if this shutdown actually happens, I'm getting paid. My execs are getting paid. The rest of y'all, we're going to cut the lowest, if the first in, first out. Whoever the last 100 employees are, y'all are fired. After that, I'm going to start taking 20% from everybody's paychecks, right, which happens across the country. I literally would go to my wife and say, we're out of here. I don't trust that person as a leader, as a person of integrity, as a stable operating leader for the place that pays my family's rent, right? And Jason, I want to challenge you to begin to broaden your horizon and look bigger than this particular job, because you work for people who will use you for their own political gain, and it costs them literally nothing because they will still get paid. The senators doing this crap, playing tag with each other, and then here's what's going to happen, George. They're going to play tag, they're going to play tag, they're going to play tag, and then something's going to set off. And I hate it. But, Jason, I would explore something bigger. And then that's the big 30,000-foot view. The reality is the anxiety and stress is the alarm system going off. We may not have enough money next month because our bosses are acting like children and they won't actually sit down and solve problems. They just want sound bites for their Twitter account. Okay. I'm going to always go towards the alarm, directly into it. What does this mean? George, tell me if I'm crazy. This might mean I got to go to work until I find some other job that will pay me when I go every day instead of one that's going to give me back pay if they ever reopen. And then you're going to have to deliver pizzas at night to pay the rent. And you're going to have to get up in the morning and drive Uber on your way to your job that you're not getting paid for. And then you're going to have to deliver pizzas. You're going to have to figure out a way to get money. And I wish there was another option to that. You can go borrow money, and then you're going to trap yourself in a continued cycle of debt and false security and whatever. You're just going to have to figure out a way to work on Saturdays and Sundays, and it's going to suck. But that's the reality you face, right?
Yeah, and what this is, he's in baby step 2. He's got a baby on the way in November, third daughter, and there's this impending shutdown. Mm-hmm. So we call this storm or stork mode, and it's the only time to pause baby step 2.
Stop paying off debt and just stack cash.
Keep your minimum payments. Everything else, stack as much cash as possible until you're out of the storm, until mom and baby are home, until we know what the heck is happening with this government. And so that might be 45 days. That sounds like about right. If you wait just a month and a half, get a side job, keep working, stack all those into savings, then once the dust settles, we can move forward with the debt payoff. That's what I would do. That would help me with my anxiety and stress, is some of the reality pieces of it.
So let's say out loud what our fearless leaders are asking their government employees to do. Because they've only duct taped this thing together for 45 days. Jason, I hate to tell you this, but I think today, after work, you should stop by a local pizza delivery place or get online and get signed up for what's some food delivery service.
Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, Amazon Flex.
Go through that as quickly as possible, or possibly call Walmart and go visit a Walmart in your suit and tie and go in there and say, hey, can I sling boxes from 4 p.m. until 11 p.m.? And for the next 45 days, I want you to stack cash. And I want you to look at your wife who's expecting a third baby and say, hey, we can't go out to eat because the people running our country are so uninterested in solving some of these problems. They're more interested in throwing crayons at each other. But my job as a responsible adult is to make sure we have food and shelter. So let's go ahead and do that. Mm-hmm. And George, it infuriates me. Because we watch the news, we watch these sound bites, we see these big things like, oh my gosh, this and this, and this side said that, and that side said that. And Jason, who's got a third baby on the way, is the guy who's at home. And his wife, who's pregnant,
on the other end of this
ping pong match between children who can't figure it out. Mm. It's so infuriating with me, man. It's disgusting at every single level. On both sides of the aisle, everybody involved in this thing. Just solve these problems and let's figure something out like adults and move on.